absolutely stinks of dog fart in here.
Oh.
Is that yours or mine?
I can smell that from Essex.
What an intro.
Tasteful, isn't it?
It sets the tone.
Yeah, exactly.
Isn't it amazing that we're all together?
Oh, it's like the Waltons, isn't it?
This feels like it's been a long, long time.
Yeah.
I think we should highlight right from the off that this is working properly this week because Richard has discovered that his internet doesn't travel through wattle and daub walls.
True story. I mean, it's obviously, when this house was built in 1655, it just shows there was no forward planning. That they thought, hold on a second, when the magic fairies come and send things through the ether, why are we? Oh, they just didn't think. It's the problem, you know. I bet the local council was run by.
But it was carbon neutral materials.
Yeah, well, do you know, it was quite funny actually when we had a hole knocked through to sort of make our kitchen and dining room sort of meet in the middle. We thought it was a newer wall, but when they were knocking it all down, they went, "Oh no, it is one of the
You
originals."
found the old tax man hidden in it.
Oh, it was fascinating. All this
the revenues
man, he was
hidden
put
in
away.
the wall.
Exactly. But it was something that I hadn't thought of. But Gav, our builder, he said, I hope I don't get anthrax. And I said, what do you mean you could get anthrax? And he said, well, you think? He said they put a load of old cow shit in as part of the thing. And he said, and I believe anthrax never dies. And I suddenly sort of thought, there's all this dust floating around the place, and thought, I wonder what my insurance company would say. Yes, well, unfortunately, you know, the family died due to anthrax whilst having building work done.
You actually got the plague from the original one, the OG.
Yeah.
Like COVID-1,
Yeah,
not 19.
He's gone from anthrax. He's now just basically the typhoid Mary of Suffolk. he's patient zero there in Finningham.
This is a true thing, actually. I can remember when I was at Knightsbridge, when I was in the army, somebody sort of, I think it was around the time that wild swimming was becoming a thing in the 80s, and there was always been an outdoor swimming area in the Serpentine. What's he doing?
Yes.
He's rustling.
It's crackling, and it's Callum. He's getting his safe. Oh, he's getting his blooming scissors out again, isn't he? That's what he's doing. His special comfort.
I'm writing
scissors.
notes.
Oh, okay. Anyway,
While swimming in the 80s,
was dredge the Serpentine. Did
you wear little tiny shorts?
I didn't go swimming in there. Good God, no. That's not my cup of tea at all. But they decided to dredge the Serpentine until finally someone said, I really think that's a bad idea, because you know what the Serpentine is? You know, this great big lake in the middle of Hyde Park. And everyone, no. He said, well, it's a plague pit. So they dug this out to throw all the bodies with people who had the Black Death. And they went, and, you know, the buboes of bubonic plague, they carry on forever. So all of a sudden they decided not to dredge the Serpentine, largely on account that it would have wiped out all of London with the Black Death. So no, so that's why you won't do it. But apparently it's very tarry underneath there with all the bodies.
I've just realised that I am sat in an 17th century cow stall, which is my office, and it was a cow stall when we took this on, and all I did was sweep it out and plaster it.
Yeah. So you're going to get anthrax and ringworm.
I'm just looking around now.
It does. What are the symptoms? Should I Google it?
If it's hair loss and beard growth, then I'm...
You beat me to it.
Yes, it's and a very deep voice.
Quick to anger.
Quick to anger, and he gets a very deep voice all of a sudden. Oh my God, he's got anthrax.
That's the excuse.
Yeah, exactly.
So, it's been a while since we've all been together, and we should probably catch each other up and catch the audience up on what we have been up to, because I know Callum has some things to share. So maybe we should let Callum go first, and then we can moderate him thereafter.
Yeah.
I haven't got that much to share. I was just
audience, did you hear that? Yep.
Okay, it's going to be a long one. No, it's not going to be. Let me tell you what I gone and did.
What have you gone and did?
I gone and did some fishing, me.
Uh-huh.
Finally, I got out fishing. Most people think it would be fishing in a capacity of, have a very gentlemanly afternoon, but having children and dogs and a busy work schedule, the fishing that I did have was always with children, which I don't know if you've ever tried to be quiet by a river with a 5-year-old child that's possessed by the spirit of K-pop demon hunters at present. I'll explain what K-pop demon hunter is another time, but there's parents just chuckling because they know exactly what I mean. But it's not a quiet situation, and not that conducive to actually fishing. But I did get out a few times because it's that perfect time of year where it just gets cold enough, and autumn is firmly here, although we're getting some hot days and some colder days. But I always turn my attention to the river when it gets cold, and we go perch fishing and chub fishing. Chubs tend to be the sort of fish that will feed regardless. If there's snow on the ground, the chub will still have a go. Pike will still be active, and perch are a bit more finicky. But this time of year, they start getting very predatory, and they feed on a lot of bait fish. So I went perch fishing, and I lucked out catching a 2-pound perch. On my last cast, as I was heading back to the car, I just saw this little piece of concrete as it dropped off, and I thought, I'll have a go there. I had my 1.5-year-old asleep in my left arm and my right arm with a fishing rod. So when I hooked a very big perch that then needed a landing net that I hadn't properly set up, it was somewhat of a panic to get it in. But I did manage it, just about. No babies were dropped in the process. She didn't even wake up from a nap, which was good. And I caught a 2-pound perch. So that is basically what I've been up to.
That's about as
Fishing.
good as your life can.
Big fish, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a big. I haven't caught a big one like that for quite a while, despite actually trying. And when I wasn't really trying, I got lucky. So that's always good.
It's about as good as your life can get at the moment. That day, isn't it? That's pretty much the peak. Snatching a joyful moment out of a walk. Actually, it was quite nice. The baby saw I caught a couple of little chub as well. She thought it was really good, and then she cried when I put them back, which was also quite fun.
Do you want to hit him on the head?
I don't think you'd want to eat a chub.
Well,
I do know someone that ate a chub once, and they said it was like eating cotton wool and needles.
Yeah,
they are probably one of the worst. They don't taste horrible, but they don't really have like
they look
a proper fillet.
Mealy, like when you get a mealy apple.
yeah.
Sometimes it hasn't got a crunch to it. That's what chub look like. Like they'd just be all wrong in the texture.
I can imagine. I don't know, like Smeagol eating one, and that would be about it. That's all I have in my head. Anyone that attempted. Somebody said the other day that Dutch people often eat like an alley cat in a cartoon, and I can't kind of forget that, eating whole herrings and fish like chub and things like that.
So that's our first nationality offended for
Here we go.
show.
For our Dutch.
I wasn't expecting the Dutch.
Yeah, well, they don't get it enough, do they? Really?
Well,
God,
I'm quite close to the
reclaimed
Dutch.
land.
I'm quite close to the Dutch, obviously, geographically speaking, and also I'm quite tall and fair-haired, so therefore, I mean, I actually am relatively short compared.
You're a devil for clogs.
Oh, what? Honestly, if I so much as see a windmill, I'm happy.
It's the tulips all the time.
Yeah, exactly. But interestingly, I do know that that it's not the Dutch who eat sort of fish in a rather bizarre way, but certainly the Koreans are very much into sucking the eyeballs out of cooked fish, because we used to have a Korean restaurant in London, right next door to the barracks at Hyde Park Barracks, and I can remember once going in there just to see what it was like, and seeing these Korean people, and they sort of were sucking the eyeballs out of this. I think it was a cod or something like it was something quite large, and I thought, my God, because there's always that rumours about the dogs and stuff, but it was how they ate fish. That was very top cat type eating.
Yeah.
I've seen this. We had it on when I used to do more with the wild food, and we used to have like whole day cooking courses where we cook various bits of game and things. We used to have trout on there, and we had a Korean lady once who was absolutely horrified that nobody else was eating the eyeballs. So she went round sort of nicking all the eyeballs out of everyone's trout heads, which again wasn't on my bingo card for the day, but
Interesting. I remember I got a first class fish at a restaurant in Croatia, and the missus is barely a pescatarian, but this was a nice fresh fish. She was like, yeah, we'll have a bit of fish. And the waiter just kept insisting on showing how fresh it was by poking its eye, like repeatedly, because if they're more than like a day old, the eye goes sort of like a grey colour. So I honestly, I felt like giving him a tip just for him not to keep poking this fish in the eye while we were trying to eat. I could see the missus over the table looking slightly horrified. And he also popped the cheek out, which I did eat, and it was delicious. So if you've never had cod cheek or any fish cheek, highly recommend it. The cheek is unbelievably good. I cannot speak for the eyeball.
I did a bit of fishing, not last week, sort of the end of September's all blurred into October, and I'm not sure which is which. But we went out and did some. I've got a course coming up. I've got to do my international powerboat operators something or other. So we've been out on the boat messing around, trying to make sure we don't crash into rocks so we can go at full speed without flipping over. But we took the rods out with us as well. And because my mate's got a particularly good sonar and fish finder on the boat, we've been using it to find all the weird little holes in the rock at low tide so we can try and drop feathers in there. And we found one hole sort of between Anglesey and the mainland at the end of the Menai Straits there. That was I think it's about 60 metres deep or something, this one little hole. It's been about the size of a cricket pitch, but there's just this big hole there. And just the profile looks like a U shape in the seabed. And then you can just go right up to the edge of it and just work out where it was and just drop the feathers down the side of it.
Oh, that sounds amazing. And you found like the little honey hole.
Yeah, you were just bringing stuff up all the time. Meanwhile, there's all these other little boats out there, and you're just trying to bring them in quietly without making a big deal of it. Just trying to hook them in. But
what are you catching? Mackerel,
and then so I'd say only about a third of what we brought in was of size. And we basically kept like 2 each. But we were bringing in a lot of small fish, but a lot of fish, just everything was way undersized. But obviously, this was where they were, I don't know if it's like a nursery area or what, but everything's a bit late this year for the sea fish.
It's funny, the rivers changed. The perch, the last few years, it's been really hard to catch them.
Yeah.
And now, or you catch one, you catch the smaller fish. Yeah. And I've seen a few of my friends that are not like super keen. So I know they'll go out, once a week or whatever. And they've started catching bigger perch as well. And bear in mind, it's only mid-October at this point. So to see lots of big perch, it's amazing how everything has changed, because the last 2 or 3 years, we've not really seen much in the way of bigger fish in the river.
No.
But the perch life cycles are only like 7 years. So when you get a bumper crop of big uns for a year, then you're not going to catch anything for sort of 4 years, a 4-year stint, and then you'll start catching the bigger ones again.
Like getting mast jeers with acorns and beech nuts, except it's perch. And you can read about mast jeers. You can read about mast jeers in Scribehound at the moment, because some wonderful person with a fantastic beard has just written possibly the finest article ever written about mast jeers. And you can find a link for that in the show description.
What are mast jeers?
You have to read
Well,
the
if
article
you
to find out.
if you read it on Scribehound, Callum, you'll find out because that bloke who's got
I can't
anthrax that we
read.
know.
There's an audio
That's written
version.
about it.
There's
Yeah.
a
I know
you
there
listen.
is.
You can listen to my
You can
wonderful voice.
You can listen to his
I did hear-
anthraxy voice.
I listened to the first 30 seconds of like the year the wood got a boner or whatever it was.
Yeah.
That's a better title. Well, Richard, what have you been up to?
What have I been up to? Well, I've been doing lots of hedge laying. Surprise, surprise, because this time of year. But also,
Everybody drink had that on their bingo
exactly,
card.
yes. So, okay, and everyone, I'm going to say the word bill hooks. Because I've actually passed over this.
Say it again, but
This
slower.
bill hooks. This current hedge that I'm working on, I've actually put my bill hook aside, and I'm having to use a chainsaw as well because it's a funny old thing because it's in the fens. Everything's grown very big, and to try and chop some of this stuff around to lay it properly with a bill hook is just masochism. So I'm using my little chainsaw, which is means that my poor old arms are aching in different places. But what I've really been up to, which I suppose is most noteworthy, is I went to the British Guild of Agricultural Journalists annual awards lunch, and they have a lovely harvest festival service in St. Bede's Church, which is on Fleet Street, which is the church dedicated to journalists. And then after that, we went into.
Didn't know there was such a
Isn't
thing.
it wonderful? Yeah,
It's not going to make a difference, is it?
it's sadly it was made quite.
Coat of arms is just a pen.
If there's any more of an ungodly
It's an
bunch
ashtray.
of journalists, it's quite. But then that would be it. But no,
Collection plate must be awful.
yeah, they steal it. Yeah, just take. I'll have that. St. Bede's. Yeah, it's one of Christopher Wren's churches, but unfortunately, the outside is currently clad in scaffolding and wriggly tin because it's being renovated at the moment. It cost £1.4 million. So obviously the new Archbishop of Canterbury must have found some money down the back of her cassock. And yes, so we went in there, and then after that we went into the Stationers' Hall, which is the livery company of the stationers. So I guess Marks and Spencers and people. Now, is it Marks and Spencers? W.H. Smiths, that'd be right. Those sorts of people. Stationers' Hall, where they then have a lovely lunch, and completely ruined by me being the guest speaker, giving my speech, and then they have an awards ceremony after that for all the journalists and podcasters and vloggers and various stuff who write in the agricultural press. And it was very interesting to see them, because obviously these guys have got their finger on the pulse of what's going on in farming at the moment. And I heard some good insider gossip, like there might actually be Rachel Reeves, maybe, possibly changing the inheritance tax debacle, which she did, and she might go and up it from £1 million per farm to £5 million per person, which would give you a 10 million exemption on inheritance tax off your farmland, which I suppose may be good, may not be if you're a farmer.
Maybe they listen to our podcast.
It'd be good, but for the vast majority of farms, then what was the point in all of that then?
Well,
because it's just going to.
It's bonkers, isn't it? This is one of the interesting things, right? On that topic, is that I've just written an article for The Critic about what farmers want from government, because clearly one thing they don't want is a Labour government ever again. That is a given. But I spoke to quite a number of people within the industry. And one of the things I'd found out was that the reason that the government in the first place put inheritance tax on farms is because some of the bean counters in the Treasury had managed to work out. They said it was going to bring in £1.8 billion per year into the economy. Well, it actually turns out that some slightly more clever bean counters in the real world have done some calculations. and that the cost of actually implementing it and the cost to the exchequer because of the decline in farming is going to cost the exchequer 1.9 billion pounds per year. And then add to that a 300 to 400 million pound loss per annum, because all the farmers have gone off and have spent huge amounts of money on getting tax advice and legal advice on how they might be able to avoid inheritance tax, which was actually bizarrely even suggested to them by Rachel Reeves, that they should get decent tax advice, which they've now gone off and done. And the accountants said, oh, we can make some savings here, here, and here. So there's actually an additional 300 to 400 million pounds per annum lost, because all of a sudden the farmers have become more tax efficient. But also, of course, because they've had a decline in their own revenues because of all these various horrible taxes and impositions that have been put onto them. So well done, Rachel Reeves. You know, you have done wonders for the agricultural economy. And
Just to put that in context, I just did some very quick maths. How many days do you think 1.8 billion would fund the NHS for?
I don't know, a week? Go on.
3.2 days.
Oh my
Oh my
lord.
God.
Just to give you an idea of how that fits into the outgoings of the nation. 3.2 days. So that's based on 2024 spending. There's a website you can go to that tells you. Because it's basically, the website exists for every time someone says, it'll save this much money. You can say, how long would that fund it for? Yeah.
How long would £5 a month take to fund the NHS, which is the princely sum that you can spend if you support us on Patreon?
Spend less than
That's
that.
www.countryslide.co.uk.com or one of those, .co.uk/support, and you can get access to the after show and nice Twitter, which is on WhatsApp.
Well,
a specialist group that you can talk to all of us, plus a very nice community.
You could tell that.
Was that good?
Well, you don't do the ad reads normally, do you? You can tell.
No,
this is a good time to mention this. I mean, you were the first one to bring it up, so Amy has given you a gold star as the only host to remember. So, that's another gold star pinned on your chest.
It was a perfect segue as well.
Yeah.
Let's just...
I'm going to say, I'm not allowed to do any of the plugs, because if I mention the internet, mine will fall over. So I'm not allowed to even mention that word.
We've sold your book already. We've sold pretty much every single physical copy of your book in existence.
You are
for the
far
now.
off the truth. You are not.
People still believe you're hedge
I know the only copies left of the book now are in your office, aren't they?
I think that's about.
Yeah.
I think there are.
It's keeping his desk from wobbling. It's the only copy left.
He's right.
Those wonky stone floors. Yeah.
I think I've got, because it's quite bizarre. We, as part of this thing for the Guild of Agricultural Journalists, the winners, the poor sods, received a copy of my book. So there you go. And I was watching them, and we sold quite a few as well while we were there, because Claire came with me, and we had our little sum up machine. And the supplies are running down, and I think there were 4,500 copies printed, and I think there are now about 200 left, and the paperback doesn't come out until February. So I daren't even try and sort of suggest to people buy my book, because you can't. It's rare now.
You can buy some from me, because when I came over to see you last time in August, I just nicked a whole half pallet of books from the office when you weren't looking. That's what was keeping the back of the car down. So I've been flogging them off here for £1. I've been signing them as well.
Yes,
you just put Richard.
Richard, you know what you did.
You know what you did. Yes, I'm ever so sorry about this.
Sorry about the rug.
That was
I thought it would come
what
out.
have you been up to, Mr. Prideaux? Tell us what you've been up to.
Oh, which bit's going to talk about? Okay, I went to London for work last week, the day before you did, and there were a couple of highlights from it.
What were the lowlights?
Paying £7 a pint. That was a pretty low point. That was in Mayfair.
It's quite cheap though. Genuine. I'm not taking the mick. That's actually
well,
they get over £10 semi-regularly.
Well, I had a local guide. I had, for that segment of the trip, I'd had another guide for the rest of the day, but I'm not allowed to mention who he is. But that bit of it, I had Scribe Hound's very own, and sometime Guns on Pegs, George Brown was there. He was there showing me where to go and what to do and who to talk to. And then we basically had a business meeting leaning on the windowsill of a pub in Mayfair, watching supercars go by. I think when we saw the third different gold-plated Lambo go past, I knew I wasn't in Kansas anymore, although there was a place across the road which was either a gentleman's or members-only club or a very high-level brothel. And we weren't sure, and it was only the day afterwards I looked it up and sent George a link and went, it's a club, not a brothel this time. But it's very difficult to tell from the outside, judging by the clientele going in, which is which. But they were all wearing nice blazers and dressed appropriately, so that's the main thing, isn't it?
Yeah. It's not pervy if you wear a blazer. Apparently,
no. Although another thought was, if you live entirely in London, say you only live in Zone 1 and 2 of London, and that's all you do, that's where you go for work, and then at the weekends you fly off to somewhere else, or you go out to the parks, or you drive over down to Cornwall or somewhere like that. If that's all you do, and that's what you grew up doing, and that's what you do from maybe leaving university to your mid-40s, early 50s, when you do that half retirement thing, you move out to the Shires, your view on what Britain is and who is in Britain and the things that matter to the people of Britain will bear no relevance to what's actually happening outside the M25. I know most of our audience won't be in London, but anyone who does live and work there, you must know that your view on things will be completely skewed whether you want it to or not, because it's like nowhere else in the country. It is a different country.
Very much so.
At the end of the Thames.
I always, even Essex is so bizarre in its. I've had two separate people say, we live a very normal life. One's a very rural person that does very eccentric hobbies, and has sort of generational wealth, which again doesn't live a normal life. And the other is, Essex has a very high-paying job and thinks that they're perfectly normal when you know what averages look like. That is not a representation of modern-day Britain. But I suppose that's one of those amazing things that we've got such a mad mix of people in here that have so wildly different lived experiences. Like London's just crazy. Well, Mayfair especially is madness.
That lived experience term, which is something that sort of came in during and I really hate that term, but the sort of the woke years. But it's part of that new language, new terminology. It does actually describe the situation very well, because everyone, and I know I've talked about this before, but everyone has their own version of reality based on their experiences, based on their inputs, based on the things they've observed, which my version of reality is completely different to both of yours, because I've had very different experiences, and we could both be looking at the same situation and see three completely different things because of that. And it makes that kind of reflex of, well, this is what's happening, completely pointless, because there's no definitive truth, is there?
I think that's one of the reasons why the Mayor of London gets so much grief from so many people outside of London, because his normality is London. And as you've observed yourself, Richard, it's weird for us who live in any rural area. It doesn't matter whether it's in rural North Wales or rural Suffolk, or even, I suppose, with Callum living on the sort of on the urban fringe. And it's one of those weird things, is that I've been to London more often just of late, courtesy of the book. I think probably that Sadiq Khan's vision of London, and how ethnic diversity, of opportunity, and when you hear some of the things that he wants to do as far as transport's concerned, and let's stop cars. We don't need cars. Well, no, you probably don't if you live in zone 1 and 2. You don't need a car.
No, you
do
really
you?
don't.
I mean,
You
it's a hindrance.
To be honest, even in Essex, having been in Essex, working in London, I didn't need to drive for a long, long
No.
time. It's only now that I go to shoots up and down the country and do more rural-based activities, I really didn't need to drive.
No.
Yeah.
No. And
Meanwhile, Amy had to travel 45 minutes to drop me off at the train station.
Wow. Wow.
Exactly.
I could be in London
Yeah.
that time.
No, it takes us to go, and it's quite bizarre. If you jump on the train in Stowmarket, you can be in London in about an hour and 20 minutes, hour and 25, because it's only about like 4 stops, and you're in if you catch the express. And it's like traveling to a different planet. But I have more sympathy in a way for Sadiq Khan, because his constituents are these people from a different planet. And we look at
absolutely.
him and go, well, you bastard, because we're equating his place with ours, and it's not. But equally so, he is sort of seen, because he's the mayor of London, that somehow this must be, well, if it's all right for London, then it's all right for you. And I think that's probably a malaise that goes through so much of politics as a whole, is because these dudes spend a long while in their gilded cages. Look at our prime minister, look at the energy minister, all Londoners more or less, and they really are so out of touch with anywhere outside of the SW postcodes of London, the bloody idiots. So it's little wonder that they do daft things.
So what's this thing about lemurs?
Daft things. Yes, there we go, Jim.
Nice, seamless.
What? Do you know what?
Professional.
It's better than yours, Callum.
Other podcasts, eat your heart
I mean,
out.
it was, but it still wasn't good. I'm just saying.
Well, okay. So, brilliant story broken by Patrick Galbraith. In his new role as the environment correspondent for the Telegraph. And he rang me up and he said, I want your quote. What's your opinion on this story about the lemurs? And you can imagine, I went, the what? I didn't touch them. I didn't do it. It wasn't my fault. And basically, he found out a story that Keir Starmer has Keith Starmer has sent £35 million of our money to Madagascar for an overseas conservation project looking after lemurs. So 35 million quid. And the piece is quite funny. We'll put the link in the old show notes thing. Excuse me, but I am very pleased that I've probably got the greatest quote that I've ever given in my entire life to anywhere. And I'll just quote my bit in this article. Richard Negus, a hedge layer and conservationist from Suffolk, said, £35 million may seem to some like a drop in the ocean, but if you invested that money in farmland conservation, that 35 million would bring a direct benefit back to the people of Britain. It seems to be daft that there is no inward investment in habitat. And then it goes on to say, Mr. Negus said he believed that Sir Keir's support in the countryside was non-existent, adding, something as daft as chucking money at lemurs in Madagascar is just going to be met with a shaking of heads. People will just be thinking, who are you, you moron? The lemurs might go thumbs up with their funny sticky out thumbs, but what of British wildlife? Now, that's the question I'd like to pose, right? It's clearly a stupid idea. I mean, Why are we doing it? It's
Well-
it's what's it called? It's colonialism still, isn't it? Starmer is going, I'm really unpopular, unfortunately, in Britain. So if I go and make the Madagascans love
Oh,
me,
didn't have the Starmer impression.
huh? See?
Didn't have the
Look,
yeah.
I'm
It's
laser
also-
focused on lemurs. And
It's also his John Major impression as well.
I
if you
know,
know.
No, it does feel.
no, John Major was more. He just talked about cricket all the time. He had a much higher voice than that. He had a voice like that. I do.
It was almost a Victor Meldrew.
He was
sort of.
Scottish. Do believe it. Anyway, no, that's actually my Ronnie Corbett, wasn't it? Anyway,
I've only just twigged Victor Meldrew is meant to be Scottish.
yeah, because he is Scottish in real life. He just did his own voice. That's all. I mean, that's not acting. That's just literally reading words out. I could do that.
The other week,
Anyway.
we did have Amy asking why Pierce Brosnan was doing an Irish accent in Mobland, and I had to point out that actually he is Irish.
Yes, quite. But the fact is that this Irish accent that he keeps adopting all the time for everything is much broader than his own, and it's not even a very good Irish accent. I can't work this out. I mean, he's Irish, but he can't do that accent. Anyway, right, back to lemurs.
You're
Yeah.
listening to Britain's best rural podcast.
Yeah.
We should have won
In
the
actual fact-
journalism awards.
Danny Dyer and I went to the same school.
That explains a lot.
Did you really?
We've just been putting on for such a long time.
How far away are you from Copenhagen right now?
What, mine? Wait, who's listening? Is this the after show? Who's asking?
Hold on.
Who wants some? I'm not doing deliveries tonight.
Book him, Dano.
If you get your Copenhagen Deliveroo. Anyway, lemurs, Madagascar.
Madagascar. So,
That's that's the cover. He's just put that on expenses, mate. He said, Madagascar lemurs, we'll just send that. You know, the boys will bring it across in a boat. That's the cover for Kia. It's a big old
Is
party.
lemur a code
like Boris
word?
Johnson.
yeah.
Yeah,
Give me-
it's like cheese and
Give me
wine.
35 million of lemur.
Oh, it's crazy.
It
isn't
wasn't a party, it was cheese and wine.
So my question to you then.
When he funds Colombia soon, it'll be
Yeah.
that'd raise
Sloths.
suspicion, wouldn't it?
My next thing is
Yeah,
sloths
sloths.
in Colombia. What I want to know is if
That's
you...
also his Fozzie Bear impression.
Yeah. That's my Ed Miliband, the Fozzie Man. Anyway, listen. If we had 35 million quid, right, we weren't going to spaff it up the Madagascan wall. What would you
Sure.
spend 35 million pounds on British wildlife conservation? Because he has decided to cut, significant wedges out of the SFI. He has removed a lot, whether he likes it or not. He has removed money from out of the pockets of farmers who are doing great things for wildlife. So if we were, rather than giving it to Madagascar lemurs, what should we be spending 35 million pounds on? What would you do, Richard, first of all? What would you spend 35 mil on?
Well, I wouldn't spend it on
Chainsaws.
two Aurora, used to be called Snowdonia National Parks, because that's basically what 35 million is twice their budget. Nearly, in fact, it's twice and a bit.
It is a lot of money, really. 35 million is. You could do a hell of a lot with that.
Yeah, I mean, we're currently with the social enterprise bit I'm basically volunteering on. We're trying to do a hell of a lot with a couple of tens of grand. And that's not how you say 20 grand, is it? You don't say a couple of tens.
No.
But we're trying to do a lot of that. With 35 million there, I could pretty much revamp every field edge and a field margin across the entirety of Wales. When you're looking at how to spend this sort of thing, you have to look at who you're going to be spending it with. Because if you gave that to any government department as a budget, they would eat 2/3 of it working out what to do with the last third initially. And the bureaucratic machine eats so much money. But then you've got
Planning phase is just
scoping,
gets
consultations,
crazy.
stuff like that. And then you've got the operational side of that, which often involves fixed pricing, huge contracts, and the sort of people who bid for things and they say, well, to do that, that's going to cost 750 grand. And you go back and you say, well, that's too much. They go, all right, we'll do it for 300. It's like, okay, so
Yeah.
so you could have done it for 300 at the start then, but no one ever goes back to ask for that second amount. That, with that 35 million, if you gave it to the right people who cared about the outcome beyond anything else, you could do a hell of a lot with that if you just did it contiguously across a landscape as well. Just spread it across one place here and start here, and we'll do this bit, and then we'll do this bit next, and this bit next, and this bit next, and do it a long line. You could restore most of the rivers in Wales.
Yeah.
With that.
Yeah.
You could do it all legally, but if you gave it to a big organisation like we have it here in Wales, we have Natural Resources Wales, which is it's like Forestry Commission and Environment Agency and Natural England and a few other things that all rolled into one big organisation. That eats money, and it has a terrible reputation as well for spending money and for being accountable for it. But they've also got these really big crusading things they want to do. Like one of the things at the moment is the banning of release of reared game birds in Wales, which is troublingly close to actually happening. So much so, and this is where I'm going with this diversion, there's a new national park planned for North East Wales. And at the moment, they're going around and they're sort of opening up village halls and other places to do the public consultation thing, where there's like all these brochures on the table and you go around and they say, this is where the borders are going to be and this is what we're going to do. And we're right on the edge of it. We're not in it, but we're right on the edge of it. I've been sent a photo from somebody who's been to one of the scoping things. And there's the page, which is titled Drivers for National Park Designation, Overview of Key Drivers for Designation. As part of its work to assess the case for a new national park, Natural Resources Wales conducted an initial engagement exercise in October to November 2023. The engagement report following this designation summarised the key drivers for designation as follows. So this is the reason they're going to do it. Number 2, to conserve and enhance wildlife and biodiversity. A new national park would help protect and enhance the area's rich wildlife and habitats from garden species like tawny owls and badgers,
Right.
the famous garden badger.
I've got
to
my tawny owl actually rides a badger.
to rare flora and fauna. And then this is the second half of the entire biodiversity section. It would offer greater protection from pressures such as game bird rearing and play a role in tackling the wider biodiversity crisis. So the only thing highlighted in the national park's reason for designation under biodiversity as a problem is game bird rearing. So that gives you an insight sort of into the single-minded focus that you get from larger organisations when you do spend money in this country, but also something that actually will be quite costly to implement and cause a lot of problems economically for the rural economy. So my 35 million spend would be look at something linear and connected like hedgerows or edges or riparian corridors or something like that. Start at one end and work your way through until the money ran out, spending it like it was your own money, not like it's imaginary taxpayer money. That's how I'd spend it.
Cool. What would you spend it on, Cal?
I was just trying to... I look at some of these from a marketing point of view, right? You got to think that there's certain animals that you spend a hell of a lot of money. Like pandas don't breed very quickly.
Yes.
Managed in 1 year in 2006, they managed 30 pandas bred, and it costs billions every year. So you end up spending lots and lots of money for very slow marginal gain, but people like them and they do make money back for the zoos. So it kind of balances it out.
It's a diplomacy tool as well, isn't it? It's used to sort of, China gives you a panda and then you have to talk to them.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was actually how I how I met my missus.
What, China gave you a panda?
No, I just gave her a Bacardi Breezer. Then she had to talk to me, and then next thing we got two kids, and we're going
so you're
steady.
going to spend £35 million on Bacardi Breezers? That is a terrible conversation.
No, he's giving Bacardi Breezers to pandas to help them breed.
Yeah.
No, they drink Panda Pops. Oh, okay, right. Sorry. You deserved that. No, you'd have to do a cost benefit. You'd have to do a cost benefit analysis. Amy said, "I remember Panda Pops."
That's because she's poor and northern.
Yeah, I did love. Oh God knows. I always used to twitch after drinking one of those. So many E numbers in that thing. You'd be absolutely.
That's why the pandas went extinct. I heard.
So
they were squeezing them out to make the E numbers.
Yeah.
I went to London Aquarium, and there's lots of conservation stuff.
You won't find pandas
and there was the old sea turtles there, and I look at them, and they're quite majestic. But then at the same time, every time I drink a Coke from McDonald's for a paper straw, I think, is it really worth it? Couldn't we just have the plastic ones back? I could do with a few less. I mean, no, I don't really think that. That was just a terrible joke. But it does bear the question of, no, save the turtles. Honestly, save the turtles. Some of the things we put money into to save, like I put nature documentaries on for my son and try and get him to watch stuff that's not terrible, like really dopamine spiking things on YouTube. So we watch a bit of Attenborough to restore balance. And there's lots of things about the rainforest and how quickly the rainforest is just, if you look at the periods over the years of how big it was versus how small it is now and the deforestation, that is horrendous. If there's a way to stop some of the deforestation and put habitat there, I'm all for it. I know it's not on our doorstep, and probably we shouldn't be sending large sums of money when we've got a habitat to create, but you'd have to do a cost-benefit analysis to... There must be huge amounts of money wasted trying to save charismatic, large creatures that probably will die out. Richard Priddle in the corner going, yes, that's me. Charismatic, large creatures that just don't...
Trying to get a book.
They're just not worth it. Especially when you've got species close to home that are so rapidly in decline.
That's like the key.
A hedgehog, right? I used to see hedgehogs all the time. We have basically zero hedgehogs around here.
That'd be the badgers.
I saw one that the dog barked at in the garden. But when I was a boy, if I ever stayed out late and I walked home, you'd probably bump into a hedgehog.
How big were you?
You'd always be.
Like a little hobbit.
When I was...
He's like Tom Thumb. He's out on the piss, tripping over hedgehogs.
With his Bacardi Breezers.
You'd always see him getting smashed by cars. I think cars are also one of the apex predators of the urban hedgehog.
Huge numbers. I mean, look, the most sensible...
But the decline must be crazy,
The most sensible thing, right, here's an interesting thing, right? You look at the hedgehog, right? And yes, we know that the badger has certainly got a role to play in them, their demise. It's not so binary as the fact we've got more badgers, so therefore all the hedgehogs have died out. There's many, many other things. But the thing that I would say that £35 million could be better spent on is, firstly, don't let the RSPB, Wildlife Trust, or anyone like that anywhere near it. We know that the State of Nature report produced by Natural England and their mates with RSPB et al. Was a complete load of bunkum, right? We know that was silly. So therefore, what we really need to have is some proper baseline surveying of actually the true state of nature. And so therefore, if we actually got... There's now well over 100 farm clusters across England and Wales. So why don't we go, and we've already got these farm clusters up and running. It covers a significant amount of land, farmland. Let's actually go and find really what they are. So if you spent that 35 million quid on getting a reliable baseline survey, with all we need to do is a fairly straightforward thing. It's not like you're going to have to go and we've got the data on our one. We haven't had to use countless drones and lidar and stuff like that. We just use human beings who are decent naturalists who can count and identify what they're looking at. So if you spent that 35 million quid on baseline surveying as much land as you possibly could,
Yeah, that's a good one.
then you would know actually where we're at. And then you might go and say, okay, the hedgehog population in Essex is declining or is non-existent. Let's go and look at the reasons why. And then you can start mitigating and you can start working out, because otherwise you get these one-size-fits-all policies where, oh, well,
Yeah.
people go and say, there's no curlews. Well, it's quite true. But there's lots of places where the curlew never was anyway. I mean, grey partridges are not going to be in heavily wooded areas, right? So therefore, there's no point going and saying, right, we're going to go and concentrate on the grey partridge and bring them back. Well, grey partridges never actually existed that often in, I don't know, Surrey, because the whole place is covered in trees. So, baseline survey.
To be fair, I said hedgehog, but what good is bringing? You could spend £1 million bringing the hedgehog back to my town, and then they all get run over by cars because it's more populated than ever.
Yeah.
So unless you can, whereas I'm reflecting on times when the hedgehogs were in the street and you could see them, around gardens.
Yeah.
I mean, we could help by not having astroturf in everybody's garden and actually having hedgerows and stuff. But the point is, it's whether the money is well spent to bring creatures back in specific places. So yeah, I think that analysis of where you could spend a little money and have a big impact, that is the crucial thing for.
Well,
Amy's got some suggestions: the water vole, hedgehog, hazel dormice, black grouse, capercaillie, and bees.
Bees.
Yeah, bees.
Now, here's an interesting thing, right? This is a good thing for you, Callum, right? Get your kids to watch. I wouldn't usually go and promote a BBC show other than Farming Today, but if you watch Hamza's Hidden Wild Isles, that's Hamza, he who won Strictly Come Dancing, is a very, very, very talented.
Oh yeah, I know you.
Big black guy with amazing dreadlocks down it. He there's a new series out where he's got Hamza's Hidden Wild Owls, and the first one's in spring. He comes to Suffolk and he goes to my neighbours, the Barkers at Westhorpe, who I've often spoken about, and they're looking there at the brown hare. Now, it's fascinating because even they can't find the leverets because they put up these drones with thermal on, and they can't find the leverets. They can find hares. I mean, because literally the place is crawling with hares. The whole county here has got hares everywhere, but they can't find the leverets, and that's because they don't send out much of a heat pattern, and even their fancy drones can't find it. Now,
they didn't have a Hick micro.
Well, there you go. That's probably it. No, but anyway, what they so what it proves is that and he was honest enough, because they didn't see it. He wasn't saying, well, there's clearly lots of leverets about because there's clearly gazillions of hares here. Yet if you believe the narrative, which is pushed out by that brown hare is in decline, well, it ain't in Suffolk, and you can watch that in reality on this Hamza's Hidden Wild Isles program. But I think it's something whereby if you were to spend that 35 million, you're going to find out things that should be there in certain parts of the country, and then you can start mitigating for it? Is it because of habitat decline? Is it because the farming practices have buggered it up? Is it because the hedgehog is not able to move around because everyone's putting up wooden fences? Is it because I don't know, for example, that the honeybee has now so prevalent that is actually making certain bumblebee species miss? You get some honest answers, not produced
Yeah.
by a bloke with a bloody lidar or a drone, and not produced by some flipping charity that wants to go and already have the presupposed idea everything's very nearly dead, and the only way that we can bring it back is by donating more money to our appeal for insert this here. And I think that 35 million pounds could be well spent, administered by not Natural England, because they're clearly useless. So let it be administered by, I don't know, some honest brokers. I'll administer it. There you go. I'll put my hat in the ring.
Well, I'm going to add a bit on the top here, because sort of following on from last week's disastrous episode with Kat Frampton, and we will have Kat on again to go through the topic properly and just talk about farming on Dartmoor, because there was some really cool stuff she talked about there that I won't give away here, but we will have Kat back on. One of the things we talked about in there was that complete lack of baseline data, because there's such an over-reliance on, I think it was just said on the episode when Amy was allowed to talk briefly, the local ecological record keeping and record keeping organisations, that if people aren't submitting records, then that thing doesn't exist in those places.
Yeah.
And it's very difficult to get an overview of what is actually happening from that data. So weirdly, this is something that the Yanks do better than us. So they have something called the Pittman-Robertson Act, which it was set up in 1937, but it's an 11% tax on firearms, ammunition, stuff related to shooting and hunting. And that is ring fence. So you buy ammunition and a gun in Montana, say. Your 11% tax on there stays within Montana and funds their state wildlife services. One of the primary things it funds is baseline and then continual monitoring of species numbers. So radio tracking and stuff like that, because the idea is that almost all the hunting in the States is wild game of one type or another. There's very little released hunting. There's some high fence stuff in Texas and places like that, but most of it is wild game. So everywhere's grouse shooting, basically. You have to have the habitat in order to have the things to be able to hunt. They issue the hunting licenses per year based on the surplus, basically. How many surplus animals, how many white-tailed deer, how many elk, whatever can you shoot. And then the locations where you can shoot is given out as well. So you have parcels of land and you have sort of numbers of, there are 5 hunting tags for this parcel of land in Montana or Idaho or somewhere where you can shoot elk this summer. Well, not this summer, wouldn't be this summer, this season. That is all dictated by that state's wildlife department, and that is funded in part by a tax on the stuff used to do it. So what are we meant to be, like 10 billion or something is the value of shooting, if you believe all those surveys, which I'm not sure I do believe everything, but it's a very nice number. So if you did an 11% levy or a 10% levy in that, just on the guns and the stuff and the everything sold at the game fair, what would that yield? And what would be able to come from that? I mean, there is an argument that's effectively what's already happens on good shoots, but there are these mechanisms we could use to fund conservation in the UK. There are these other models. People keep saying about the NHS, we could fund it using the French system or the Australian system or whatever. There are other models of doing wildlife conservation which doesn't involve just giving tens of millions of pounds to a charity.
Correct.
The rod license is...
Yeah, it's the closest thing to it,
similar,
isn't it? Yeah.
The closest thing you can possibly get. That a lot of that money goes back to the EA, and the EA, for all their faults, they do positive things, and they're pretty good. I mean, whenever we've had... So we had a group on Facebook called the Perch Posse, and Yeah, I know.
Weirdos.
And at one point, one of the guys spotted a few fish dying, someone else dropped in and said, yeah, I'm going to go back down there in like 12 hours. A few more fish died. Call was made by several members into the EA, and within 24 hours they came down and put pumps down with aerators because the oxygen had crashed in the water. So their quick response probably saved a lot of fish out of this particular section of the river. So, you know, that must cost a lot of money. That was a lot of our rod licenses going into our very specific local piece of river. So they are quick on hand, and a lot of people have a lot of negative things to say about the EA and their money wasting and stuff. But all in all, good eggs, and it's a well-funded thing. Maybe we need something like that for nature and conservation. Every time you buy a bag of peanuts in the supermarket to feed the birds, 10% goes back into
Tuppence a bag. Tuppence a bag.
Oh, what? It's honestly
the
birds. Tuppence a bag. Do you know what? I think you've hit...
That should have been our outro.
Yeah. I think we have hit the nail on
Richard,
the...
sing us a song.
I think we have hit
an autism. Yeah.
I think we've hit the thing there is that we could have used that £35 million, and then it should have been match funded by a levy on the alleged 10 billion which shooting's worth to the economy, right? We sometimes somehow have to find that 10 billion where it actually is, and get match funded another 35 million from that. So we then got 70 million, which goes into baseline surveying England, and then Wales can do the same, and Scotland can do what it bloody likes. I don't really care what happens up there. Let's be perfect.
Vote for independence.
Exactly, traitors.
So what have we done? Did we offend the Koreans? I think
No. We just highlighted one of their...
We observed the Koreans.
We just said they like the eyes. We said that Dutch people eat like a cartoon cat.
Right.
Well, I say we.
You.
That was me, specifically me.
Yeah.
And I guess the Scots.
Yeah, we've just fought the Battle of Flodden here. So I mean, there we go. You know, we've done quite well, really. We've offended very few, relatively speaking. We've offended the Scottish National Party. Oh well, never mind. That serves them right for wanting to go and have their village.
I think it's another
parish.
great episode.
Yeah, there we go. We've done well. Our work here, I think, is done. It must surely be time to go to the after party now.
I think it is. The after show now is coming up in 3, 2, 1.